I got spoiled for Marineford, and it still made me cry.
約束したじゃねえかよ。お前絶対死なねえって言ったじゃねえかよ。
Before I had started my One Piece journey, there was one major spoiler that I knew about. That spoiler being Ace's tragic death. At the time, I didn't know who Ace was and why he was so important in the show, so after starting One Piece in late December of 2021 and getting to Marineford around early last year, I then realized just how significant Ace was to the show. More specifically, Luffy, as Luffy and Ace are brothers. After exchanging a cup of sake with one another during childhood, they officially became brothers, since they aren't related by blood. As I'm watching Marineford and I know what's coming, I thought it would not be as emotionally hard-hitting seeing Ace pass, since I already knew it was gonna happen. Episode 483 rolls around, and fuck, I was so wrong. I'm unexpectedly in my feels, even though I already know the outcome of Ace's fate. God. This episode completely ruined me, leaving a gaping hole in my chest, and my room flooded with tears by the end of it. Ace meant everything to Luffy, and he started to mean everything to me. I fell in love with Ace's character. He was secretly the son of Gold Roger, the pirate king that sparked this whole era. Crazy. I didn't see that shit come until it revealed itself. Garp choosing his job over Ace because the Navy and justice is what he's represented and fought for his entire life is so heartbreaking. He wants to save his grandson, the one who Gold Roger, his biggest enemy, entrusted him to, believing Garp was the only person to trust with this task. Garp is truly stuck between a rock and a hard place.
いいか、ルフィ。俺たちは絶対に悔いのないように生きるんだ。
With a little bit of background set, I'll try my best to explain with words what Ace's death means to me. As you may know, the ASL trio already had someone pass away. Sabo, the other brother of Luffy and Ace, had already supposedly met death's doorstep, so Luffy has previously experienced the loss of a brother, now facing the reality of losing his other one too, and right in his arms. I cannot imagine the pain Luffy suffered losing one brother, but now both? It's just too much. And to add fuel to the flames, Luffy was the one trying to save Ace from this impossible situation, but in turn, he nearly gets killed in the process, the moment he tries to grab Ace's Vivery card back. That ended up in just mere moments, Luffy being saved by none other than his brother, who he was trying to save. Shocked and practically speechless at the current sight right in front of his eyes, Ace with Akainu's magma fist through his chest has shielded Luffy from the attack. Ace's Vivery card starts extinguishing, meaning only one thing. The one thing the audience doesn't want to be true. Ace is dying. After the allied pirates tried to retaliate back for Ace, Akainu, uninjured, walks over to finish the job. Whitebeard in an attempt to protect Ace gets interrupted by Kizaru, but Jinbei comes in clutch to guard Ace from the finishing blow. The fishman who once upon a time fought for 5 days against Ace, protected him from a fatal attack, exclaiming he'd be happy to risk his life to delay Ace's demise. He's been ready to die from the beginning. Garp, vividly enraged, unable to hold back his fury, slowly makes his way towards Akainu. Then Garp even makes it known Sengoku needs to keep holding him down, or else he's gonna kill Akainu. Shit gave me goosebumps. This reaction or attitude from Garp is exactly what we've been wanting the whole time. For him to get in there and save his grandson, even if he's the Navy's hero. My desperation for Garp to pick his family over his job was tremendous. Like, come on man, please, just this one time. I need you to do this one thing. But it doesn't matter. It's already too late. Ace collapses into Luffy's arms, bleeding out as the battlefield rages on. Luffy's facial expression is pure disbelief. A face that screams, none of this is real, right? Even when he sees his hand drenched in Ace's blood, he's unable to face the reality of the situation. Luffy clings onto the idea that Ace can still make it out of this. He just needs to be treated right away, but neither the medics or Ivankov can do anything for Ace in his current dire condition. There is only pain watching this unfold. Ace apologizes to Luffy for not being able to make it all the way, and that Luffy had to push himself this far for him. His organs have been burned, he can tell his life is ending, and he can't hold out any longer. How can this be happening? Luffy reminds Ace he promised he'd never die no matter what, a promise that was made after Sabo's death in their childhood. With little to nothing left to give, eyes fading away, he reignites the flame inside, that is his life, to give Luffy his last and final words. As he reflects upon his entire life, he comes back to a question that lingers on in his heart. Do I even deserve to be born? Flashing back to memories of his childhood when people were saying things like, if Roger had a son, he'd obviously get his head cut off, or that he should get burnt alive and humiliate him prior to death in front of the whole world. One guy even said he wanted to hear, "I'm sorry I was born, I'm just a piece of trash," as he dies, with no one knowing that they're saying these things right in front of him, which obviously got Ace into a lot of trouble with people when he rightfully retaliated in response to these comments. No one wanted me to be born. I wouldn't even have a will to live. But thankfully, Ace found salvation in a brotherly bond with Sabo and a high-maintenance brother like you. He wants Luffy to say hi to Dardan for him, if he ever gets the chance to see her someday again. Dardan is a mountain bandit that Garp had looked after the boys. Though many petty squabbles, fights, arguments, etc., she was a mother figure for Ace and Luffy. Ace even wears the same necklace she wears, as homage for her. And as he faces his own death, he even misses a woman like her. Luffy wants him to stop talking like he's actually gonna pass away. Ace tells Luffy there is one thing that makes him want to stay. His desire to see Luffy fulfill his dream of becoming the Pirate King. Regardless, Ace is certain he can do it, because he's his brother. They flash back to Ace telling Luffy that they have to live without any regrets, and to go out to sea someday and live as they like, freer than anyone else. Like they promised that day, he has no regrets. Luffy calls bullshit, but it's the truth. What Ace truly wanted wasn't fame or anything like that. Did I deserve to be born? The answer to that question is what his heart sought out. Ace's life flashes before him one last time. From Whitebeard asking him to become his son, to current day Whitebeard pulling up to Navy HQ to save him, to Luffy shouting he's his brother as he runs to his rescue, also declaring he will save him even if it means death, to Whitebeard asking Ace if he's happy to have him as his father. The noise stops. Sounds of explosions, gunshots, swords clashing, and the music halted, signifying these next moments are Ace's very last. As the battlefield rampages, Ace, with trouble breathing, tells Luffy he can't raise his voice anymore. Luffy gasps with tear-filled eyes that widen. He has one final request for Luffy, to tell everyone what he's about to say right now. Ace collapses, leaving the world with a smile, with no regrets. Whitebeard turns around and finds a bead from Ace's necklace that broke off and rolled to his feet. Overwhelmed with sadness, knowing his son has just passed, and he failed to save him. He sheds tears whilst trying to pick it up. A last flashback plays where Ace is with Garp and asks him Ace's Vivre card burns out, and Luffy is left in shambles.
俺が親父でよかったか
So what does Ace mean to me? Ace's character and death has a very special place in my heart. So much so that I even got his tattoo on my body to commemorate what he means to me. I'm not gonna lie, rewatching this episode for this video was a very tough watch. It has such a grip on my heart. I can't help but get overwhelmed with emotion every time I watch this episode. Literally every single time I'm left in tears. And that's what makes it so precious to me. My very first watch of it and every other following one, I knew the outcome, and it still gets an emotional response out of me. Even writing the script is difficult when it makes me recall this episode. Truly a one-of-one experience. Ace is a character I found a lot of resonation with, hence why I'm so fond of him. A perfect elder brother figure that looks after and protects his siblings, a person who was initially a disrespectful brat and had no manners, to a young man who carries a polite and respectful attitude towards others. Him as a kid learning respect and manners from Makino actually carried over as he grew up, which shows clear development. I really appreciate minor details like this one, especially in this case, as what the growth is reflects what I personally deem crucial to my own character. He even pays homage to someone like Dardan by wearing the same necklace as her, because he knows she contributed greatly to the person he is today. I quite like the theory from fans that his tattoo symbolizes him and the closest people in his life. A for Ace, S for Sabo, but crossed out as he died, C for Crybaby being Luffy, and E for Edward Newgate, Whitebeard's real name and the man who Ace calls his father. Ace is a responsible person as well. This is shown by his acknowledgement of his capturing and execution being his fault. He is the one who ultimately made the choice to hunt down Blackbeard, and he ended up paying the price for it. He knows that better than anyone else, and so, being aware of this, he doesn't want to be saved. He doesn't want to drag anyone else into his mess he created. He understands that it only has to be him who should suffer the consequences of his actions. No one else is to blame, except for him. Taking responsibility for one's actions to this degree is nothing short of admirable. A lot of people are unable to do that, but perhaps through Ace, people can learn to. I definitely have learned to, so I felt I related to Ace a great deal in this aspect of his character. Specifically for men in this example, as Ace takes responsibility not just as a human being, but as a man. I think us men alike should strive to be similar in our own characters. How he wants to live setting out on his own adventure and freer than anyone else is the most real shit ever. To live by your own accord, journey through life the way you want to, and achieve the ambitions you set out for. An idealistic way of living for sure, but the way Ace does, and the way I want to as well. Held back by no one and nothing. Going back to episode 483, a lot of the dialogue he said in his final moments resonated deeply with my being. Like his words spoke to my soul, laying their hands on my heart and cementing themselves in my brain. Did I deserve to be born? Yes. Yes, you did, Ace. I'm literally in fucking tears, man. A question I too have asked myself. His existence no one wanted, so that is perhaps where we differ. But the feelings of that question he asked himself caused so much strain on my heart, because I too want the answer to that question. It is something I, as well, have sought after. Words that hit a bit too close to home, and more that keep attacking my heart to come. I can't take this shit anymore, for real. Honest to God, I don't know if I can do this shit any longer. This dialogue just... oh, I'm speechless. Every single word just punched my entire existence. My entity, my being, everything. This feeling is unexplainable. I'm distraught, my heart absolutely wrenched. But I don't even feel like how I'm describing it could ever do it justice. How am I supposed to deal with these emotions that have been evoked? How did a fictional character just put me in such a shattered state? It is perplexing that someone who isn't even real just said the most real shit ever. I sadly fully understand what he's feeling, and it hurts. When I apply his words to myself, our emotions are synonymous. I contrast what he's saying to Luffy in this moment to my gratitude, my affection, and my love for my friends. Friends who I would consider family. Similarly, I also am so fucking thankful to these people in my life for loving someone like me who is good for nothing and only has bad blood in his veins. I'm just still beyond astounded that a character could mean so much to me to this degree. To encapsulate emotions I feel, thoughts I have, and questions I ask myself so goddamn well. Fuck you, Oda. You broke my heart. More or less, how Ace sees himself and how low his sense of self-worth is yeah, something I too have struggled with. Our doubts about our worth in the world and the desire to have that question to be answered. Oh man, it fucking sucks. Not knowing and continuing on in search of so. Like Garp said, it's something we'll have to see as we live. With time, we can hopefully find salvation. To satiate the hunger of this question, we might ask ourselves every day. You might not feel similarly to how I feel, but if you do, know you're not alone. Regardless, let us live to find the answer. If Ace's passing didn't make you feel some type of way, I have no words. How the scene was executed was just perfect. The sound silencing to symbolize his expiring time and to simulate his dying perspective was fucking genius. Absolutely genius. Everything about it, to me, was perfect. Could literally not have done it any better. And the consequences afterwards, historically world-changing for the people in the One Piece world. Garp seeking penance by going to where Luffy and Ace grew up and getting intentionally beat up by Dardan as she berates him for picking his job over his family. A strike to my already fragmented heart. Makino tries to stop her, saying Garp's going through it the most, but Dardan comes back at her, exclaiming it's actually Luffy who's truly going through it the most. And it is. Going over to Luffy, he's shown rampaging, unable to face the reality that Ace really did die in his arms. I'm still so weak, he despairingly screams out. This all ends up being a turning point for Luffy. He has to get stronger, so something like this will never happen again. Yeah, well, I've just about wrapped up everything I wanted to say. If you face similar difficulties as anything said in this video, you're not alone. You will find your answer. You'll get through it. I believe in you. We'll do it together. I just wanted to say thank you. I really appreciate you for getting all the way to the end of this watch. This video personally means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this type of content, be sure to stick around. There's much more to come.